Hey friend, it's Brandon Gustafson. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be getting into the topic of, can a care home with 2 or 3 beds actually be profitable? Hey friend, it's Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted living facilities, and I created this channel to help people just like you learn the ins and outs of assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. Today we're going to be getting into the topic of, can a care home with 2 or 3 beds actually be profitable? It's a question I hear all the time, and you are probably watching this and wondering to yourself, I've got this extra house, or I've got some extra rooms now, I'm an empty nester. Could I bring some people in here and actually make some money? So we'll talk about that as we get into the video today. Before we do though, I want to make sure that you get over to the website assistedlivinginvesting.net/calculator, and you'll be able to download our free underwriting calculator to help you out through your investment journey and get you down the path to reaching your investment goals. Excited to help you out through that process. And the link is down here in the video description below. So you can just click on that and get over to it. Now let's jump into the topic. We're going to be talking again about can a 2 or 3 bed care home actually be profitable as you are going through your investment journey. Now what I'm seeing with a lot of you that want to do this kind of model where there's 2 or 3 beds in a facility in a care home, and I'm talking specifically about care homes here because this is a different level. You're doing a lot of the same work that you would in an assisted living facility, but it's going to be termed differently. Your state's going to have a different regulation on this than my state might. What I've seen is kind of a rule for where I operate is 4 is kind of the max for a care home. But I've also seen a few, as I've done some research in different states, where they get up to 6. So this is kind of the sweet spot that you're working with in a care home. But a lot of people want to know, hey, I'm an empty nester, my kids just moved out, now I have 2 or 3 beds in my facility. Can I turn this into something that it's generating income? Now there is the model that I would suggest that you go through if this is the path that you want to go down is what's called a live-in caregiver model. So with a live-in caregiver, it means that I'm going to assume that you're the one that's doing this, are actually living in the house with these people, and you are the caregiver, and you're helping them out through that process. You could hire somebody to come in and be the live-in caregiver if you have space in the house or things of that nature, but we're going to go off the assumption that you're the live-in caregiver. That's how I'm going to talk to you a lot about this, but you're probably going to want to have this model regardless in a care home where you have the caregiver actually living at the house with them so they can provide the cares and be there all the time when it's needed. What is that live-in caregiver model that I'm talking about? How does it work? So that caregiver that actually lives in the facility with the residents is there, and they are going to be kind of doing all the meals. They're going to be taking care of any of those activities of daily living that you might be familiar with in the assisted living world. So making beds, dressing, cooking, cleaning, all of those things are going to be what you're doing as a live-in caregiver as you go through the process here in your care home. Now, in a 2 to 3 bed care home, as the owner, you are likely the one that's living in that facility and caring for the residents. So you're the one that's going to be doing a lot of that work and helping them receive the cares that they need. So this means that you are actually going to be the caregiver and the landlord at the same time. And where that can really help you out is you're going to be able to reduce labor costs, which is something that's super valuable. Something that I will point out, and I'll make another video on this, is that as the live-in caregiver, you don't necessarily have to be there all the time. You can still have other staff that come in, and you can do what's called respite care, which allows you to get outside of the facility. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through some of these videos here on the channel. So make sure you stay tuned, ring the bell so you get notified every time that I put this content out to help you out on your investment journey. But by being that live-in caregiver yourself, you're going to significantly reduce your labor costs, which, as we know, and I've talked about this in a previous video, the most expensive part of owning and operating an assisted living facility by far, and it's not even close, is your labor costs. And so if you're able to reduce that amount of money that you are putting into running a facility based off of your staff, you're going to be more profitable, which is something that I think you're here trying to learn is, can I do this and can I actually make money while also making an impact on the world? And the answer, yes, you absolutely can. Doing the live-in caregiver model is going to help you out through that process. Let's get into a little bit of cost management, because this is kind of the enticing part here about running that 2 to 3 bed facility. What is cost management and what is profitability? Basically, with profitability, you're taking all of your expenses, everything that it costs for you to run the facility, and all of the income that you have. And if you are bringing in more income than your expenses, so if your income's up here, your expenses down here, that gap right there is going to be what your profitability is. So that's kind of give you an idea of what that is. So the more cost management features or strategies that you can implement in your assisted living facility and the way that you are operating, the more profitable you're going to be on your journey to investing in assisted living. So if you are running one of these little facilities, how are you going to reduce those costs, and how are you going to make it a profitable small care home? When you are that live-in caregiver, when you're kind of there on a daily basis, day to day, you're doing all the things, you have a lot more control over the amount of money that you are spending on things in the facility. How much money are you going to be spending on groceries? How much are you going to spend on somebody to help out with the cleaning? Are you going to do that yourself, or are you going to hire it out? And how much are you going to be doing with that? You might be looking at some of especially the lower staffing costs. So if you're doing this, you're probably going to be paying yourself 2 ways. One, as the caregiver, and that's going to be kind of a W-2 job, and then one time as the owner, the landlord, and that's going to be more of a passive thing that's coming in that's profitable. So from a tax advantage standpoint, you're actually putting yourself in a pretty good spot here by implementing some of these processes here for you. But you're going to be able to reduce that cost significantly, in the sense that, on your paper, it's still going to show up as a big cost, but it's coming to you, so you're going to be generating more income for yourself as you go through this. And profitability, it kind of gets into a hairy situation here, right? Where true profitability for the business is based off of those expenses and income. Whereas for you, from an income perspective, you're getting paid twice in 2 of these areas. Once is the W-2 live-in caregiver, and once is the investor that's getting those things. And that money coming to you is going to benefit you and help kind of offset some of those costs, and helping you generate the income that you need to run a successful care home here that you're running. Another point here is you're going to have reduced insurance costs as well, because you're going to have fewer residents, which means you just don't have as much to insure. So that's something that is good. Insurance is actually one of the largest expenses that you're going to have when you are running an assisted living facility. I've covered that before as well in the video that I linked previously. But insurance is something you're going to have 3 types of insurance: property, liability, and workers' comp. Now, when you have fewer residents, that liability insurance is going to shrink down. And when you're living in the facility as well, it's probably going to shrink that down a little bit. So your premiums are going to come down, which is going to save you some extra money. And if you're going this model, you're likely going to have a more traditional mortgage rather than SBA, which is something that I have done. And in doing that, you're probably going to have better rates and better terms than what you can get on the SBA, because you have the house already, which is a really nice feature. Having those things, having a reduced debt service payment, is going to help you out a lot. Debt service is a huge expense that you have when you're operating an assisted living facility. So anything that you can do to reduce that, the better off you're going to be. Now let's talk a little bit about kind of the legal implications of this, the licensing, and how that's going to work. Now, I'm going to qualify all of this by saying I am not an attorney, and I would very much encourage you to talk to an attorney about your investment decision before you dive into this. But from a kind of legal structure, I would suggest to you that you consider becoming an LLC. It takes off the liability from yourself and makes it so that if something does go bad at the facility, you're not held liable yourself for those things that are going on at the facility. It's going to help you out from that standpoint. I'd also suggest that you have some kind of a simple lease agreement and between the facility, the operational business, and the landlord. Now, you are the same people in this situation, but having that basic lease agreement is going to help you out through your process and just kind of protecting you in the event that something bad does happen or you get into a sticky situation. We actually have this for our facilities, where I have a lease agreement between my operational business and the entity that I own that also owns the real estate, and they have this. It's really basic. It's 4 pages long, just kind of protects us in the event that something does happen, but we're covered with a lot of those things. So it's a really useful tool for you to have. I'd encourage you to do that. Again, talk with an attorney, but I think you'd be able to do this pretty easily because you're signing both sides of that agreement, which is nice. And going back to the insurance conversation, you're going to want to talk to an insurance broker and make sure that you have the proper coverage for the type of facility that you're operating and how you are operating that house, and making sure that it has all of the things that it needs to help you run a successful and profitable business. Now let's talk a little bit here, and I alluded to this earlier in the video, but what type of license should you have as you go into this? And I'm considering making some resources around this. So if you are interested in kind of learning a little bit more of the landscape of senior living and what it's like and all the different components, make sure that you comment down below deep dive, and I will take all of those and as a sign that you want this type of content, and I'll go ahead and build it for you. So if you want to know and have a deeper understanding of the senior living industry as a whole, comment deep dive down below, and I'll kind of create something that's going to help you out on your investment journey. With that said, let's get into the different types of facilities on a really briefly here, so you can understand what you're looking at. Number one is going to be care homes, which is what we've been talking about. I would say you're looking at something that's like 4 to 6 beds inside of that facility, and it's going to be called a care home, more than likely in the state where you're residing. Next is a residential assisted living facility. And this is something that I talk a lot about on my channel because this is a lot of what I do. But typically what you're looking at here is anything that's licensed up to about 16 beds. Your state might have some different rules around it, but you're in a more residential setting and you have up to 16 beds. And it just kind of feels more like a home, but you have different kind of classifications on there and what you can and can't do. And beyond that is going to be getting into more of a commercial assisted living facility. And these are 20 plus bed types of facilities. They are probably going to be in a bigger type of a building that is maybe more commercial feeling than you would have it as a residential facility. So those are the 3 types of classifications there as you get into the assisted living world. And beyond that, there's actually a few different classifications. You could be working with different populations, and this is based off of different waivers that the state is going to have. So you could be working with special needs or mental health like I do at one of my facilities. You could be working with sober living or just kind of traditional assisted living, which you are probably thinking of as you get into this path of investing in assisted living. Elderly care, those that need assistance with things, part of the silver tsunami, if you will, that is coming as the baby boomers age into this age group that are going to need the services of an assisted living facility. And if you want a more detailed version of some of these things and kind of what that licensing process is, make sure you get over to assistedlivinginvesting.net. You can access our free underwriting calculator there as well and get some of the resources that you need to help you be successful and go down the path to running and operating a successful assisted living facility. Regardless of the type of facility that you want to start, though, you need to make sure that you are following the rules and regulations. Make sure you're compliant with things and following the rules so that you can be successful and generate income sufficient for your needs to help you out on your investment journey. Make sure you're going about it the right way so you don't get shut down. I don't want that to happen to you. So to recap what we've been talking about here in this video, we've been talking about, can a 2 or 3 bed assisted living facility be profitable? The answer is yes, it really can. You're going to be able to reduce a bunch of costs. We talked a little bit about the different licensing types and where you kind of want to fit. We're going to save some money as you go through that process as well. If you found this information to be helpful, make sure, again, you get over to Assisted Living Investing, download that free underwriting calculator, and we'll kind of help you through that process. I'm here to help coach you on your investment journey. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At assistedlivinginvesting.net, we're here to help you through the process, start to finish. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.